Hi, welcome back. Have you ever had the need of syncing two SharePoint lists with each other? Let's say we have one master SharePoint list and then you have another one. And every time you write something on the master SharePoint list, you want it to be reflected on another list, where other people are working. I've had this scenario once or twice in my career until now, and it's an easy fix. It's quickly done as well, and I just want to share it with you. So let's take a look how it works. As you can see here, I have a list number 2 and a list number 1. I've already tested it a little bit, so that's why you can see some data. And if I'm going to create a new item in the first list, let's say title will be, title in this case is a first name, which is test user. You can imagine other columns and other data, of course. Last name, test user, last name. I don't remember any random names, so I'm going to use that. Phone number, blah, blah, blah. Country is, let's say, France, city, Paris, and let's save that. So now my workflow is going to check in the second list if we have that data already there or not. And if not, it's going to create it. So now my workflow should run, and as we can see, the test user popped up in our second list. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the information around first name and last name from the first list, and we'll see what the workflow will do in the second list. So let's grab the test user and let's say test user 2. And let's say here also, oh, it automatically saved. So that's it with my test for now. Let's see that first. And let's see here, it should check that my test user already exists, as you can see, and it updated automatically only the column that I changed, right? So yeah, that's how it works. And I imagine you will need this sometime, if not already. And I'm happy to show you how to do it. So stick around, give a thumbs up if you like the video, and yeah, make sure to subscribe. Okay, so here we are. Let's create a new list. And I'm going to call this my master list. And I'm going to select create. Don't mind if it's in German, sorry, but you get the point. So the title will be, let's talk about cars this time, not people. Let's make this our car model. We can use a space here since it's already called title in the backend. It's not going to mess up with the naming. Let's put here another column about the color. And let's have another one about the engine. Another one about build year. Hope is how we called it. And I'm not going to put a space here because, as I said, now in the backend, then it will have to decode that space. So you end up having like percentage and D or such encrypted characters. So I will put build year so that it in the backend ends up being the name build year. Then I can put a space in between so that I can have the display name of the column the way I want it. Okay, save. Let's get another one, and this will be type, like coupe or limousine or sedan and so on and so forth. Let's say car type. Okay, that's enough, I think. So what I need to do now is I'm going to go to my site contents, and I am going to create a new list based on my existing one. So I don't want to type the columns again. In this scenario, you have to, we are recreating the master list somewhere else, for example, and we are going to use the same columns. So this is not a master list, this is the second list. Same scenario here, if you use blanks, you're going to have not that clean URL. So that's why I'm writing it this way, and we can rename it later on. Click create, and oh, it looks like my English. I switched the language actually yesterday, but it somehow took ages to activate, so it looks like now it's in everything English. So we are good there. As you can see, we have now our second list. Now we can go on and rename this, because in the URL we have the right name, or it looks good. So the display name of the list, now it's going to be second blank list. Okay, so now we have our second list, and for now, if we create one in the first list, it's nothing going to happen here. So I have already opened my Power Automate, and I'm going to create an automated cloud flow. This will be my list sync flow, and I want, when an item is created or modified, trigger create. Okay, so now I'm going to grab from my development environment my master list, and this will now trigger my flow. Next, what I want to do is I want to go to my secondary list and get the items from that list. Before we do that, we need to filter the get items based on the ID of the same item which is in the master list. So for example, if I create one item here, this is the demo that I just showcased. This is list number 1. We have the ID which is automatically created. I want to save this ID in the second list so that I know that this item is the same with the other one. Because if I use there the default ID column, those ID numbers can be different. So I cannot rely on that. That's why I'm grabbing the ID from the master list, from the list number 1 in this case, and saving it in the second list as my synced ID. So if we see here in the second list, I have a column called synced ID, and this is the ID coming from the first list. So this we have to create again. Okay, so this is the second list. We need to add a new column here. I'm going to do it text. You can do it in whole number. It doesn't matter actually. And this will be my synced ID from the master list. So I'm going to bring this column at the beginning, and so that if you want to have this column always at the beginning, you can either customize the view by switching the numbers, with the checkboxes, number 1, 2, 3, which column has to be in the first, or you can just drag and drop them. But then you have to go here and then save the view as all elements in this case, and then this will always keep the columns in the way you sorted them now. Okay, so now we have the synced ID. In my Power Automate, I don't think it already has that, so let's delete this get items and do it again. Get items, and I want to grab my development team. List name is my second list, and I want to filter my query. So I want the ID of the trigger outputs, which is from when an item is created or modified, to be equal, EQ is for equal, the synced ID column, which is this one here. Okay, so this should do the trick. Okay, before we save it, let's go to the master list and create 1 or 2 data entries. I'm going to edit in grid view, car model, BMW, color black, engine 2.0i, I don't know, build year, let's say 2018, car type, coupe. Let's do another one. This will be a Mercedes, gray, 2.0 CDI was, I remember, the old diesel I don't know how they're called now. Anyways, 2015, it's a sedan, and that's enough for now. Exit grid view, we have some data that should do the trick. So now let's test the get items here. When an item is created or modified. Now let's save this and let's test it. Manually test. Okay, my workflow now is now waiting. Let's modify the BMW and let's do from black to red. Okay, workflow is working. It didn't find anything, of course, now in the second list. That's why this is empty. And now what I want to do before I test it again is I'm going to copy this entry and paste it in my second list from here. And the synced ID, I'm going to manually put it now, is, I imagine, number 1. Let's check it out. Because this is how it's going to work at the end. You're going to create items here and it's going to create the synced ID and everything by itself. But for testing purposes, I'm going to make it now manually. Exit grid view, I want to have in my master list also the ID column. For that reason, I'm going to go and edit the view because the ID column already exists. There it is. And let's put it at the top. Okay. As you can see, BMW has ID number 1. In the second list as well, that's the synced ID. So now if I run this again with manually, because I'm afraid if I run it automatically with the last run, I'm not sure it's going to grab the new entry here. So I'm going to modify BMW to be built year 2017. And let's see. So now it's triggering the workflow, it's grabbing the data from the second list. As you can see here, it worked. And we have the 1 equals synced ID, because that's the ID of the item I modified in our master list. Click to download, and it looks like we have some data. I know, for people who follow me on LinkedIn, I discovered a very cool tool a couple of days ago. It's called JSON Crack. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to paste that information into this tool. And as you can see, it visualizes me the JSON. This is the output from my GET request, GET items. And we have here the headers and the body. I'm going to close the headers. And if I move a little bit to the right, we have the values. No? So for now, I have only one value because only one item was there. And that's why it's showing it here, but otherwise it will show it below each other, which is very helpful to understand what data you're getting. So this is working. What we are going to do now is we're going to add a condition. There it is. And in the condition, I'm going to check if the length of my dynamic content value, which is the list of items, we can see it here as well, not here, but in the JSON Crack tool. This is the value. Now we have here the response code. This is the body. And then we have the value. And these are the values. So that's what we are checking. That's why go with the value and not with the body. So as you can see here, length, the outputs from the get items, we're going to the body and then the values, grabbing the values. Now click OK, and then it's equal to 0. Because it's going to return an integer number and we are comparing it to 0. So if it's 0, then it means that the item does not exist. So it will go the yes path, and we need here to go and create an item. Create item in our SharePoint list where the data is going to be created, which is our second list. It's going to load now our columns. The title is the car model. So we're going to search here for car. No, sorry. it's called title as well in the first list. No? So when item is created or modified, that's our first list, our master list, and that's the title that we need. The synced ID is the ID of the same list. The color as well from the first list, engine here as well, build year also from the first list, and the car type. Okay, so this is now going to create the item. But what happens if it already found an item? So we want to go here and say update item. Update item, there it is. We are going to find our site address and our second list. And now we are going to encounter here a slight problem. If I select the item that I'm going to edit, because we are not going to edit the item with ID from the master list, because now we are not looking for the synced ID, we are looking for the internal ID. No? So in the second list, we have the synced ID and also the internal ID, which you cannot modify. It's always there, and it's how databases work. No? But since we're in SharePoint, let's call it that way. So this is also a mandatory field. Otherwise, SharePoint and Flow cannot find that item to modify. If I go now and select ID, since we are doing a get items is assuming that you're always going to get multiple items. No? For that reason, it is creating an apply to each. Our workflow will run every time an item is changed. So we can leave it this way. It's only going to run once. No? It's not going to be an issue, but I can show you another way as well, so that you can skip the apply to each loop. So to remove the update item now from the apply to each loop, you need to remove the value here and the ID from here, and then you can drag and drop it below and then delete it. Or you can do the whole loop. Since we haven't inserted data yet, it's not a problem. So to do so, I'm going to write an expression. Give me the outputs of get items. This is from this step here. Question mark, square brackets. Then we go into the body of our response, and then on the level value. Then we are going to write the index of the position of the element in the array. Now, since we're retrieving an array back, arrays are lists with data, or it's a string, it's a list with data, which has a list of data, and each data has a position, and it starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So since we're grabbing the first one, we want the position 0. And in that position, we want the column ID. So we need to make sure that these columns here and also this one are into single quotes. The index, of course, not, but this one needs to be. Select OK, and this should be entered now in our field here. The title is as well required. Title is going to be the same now from what was triggered in the master list. So now we don't have the loop anymore because only the ID was coming from its own list, or it's not coming from there, but it will search there, but it's coming from the get items. Everything else, the data that we're going to update, it will come from the master list, which is not going to create a loop since it's only one item. So we write title there. The synced ID now is the ID from our when an item is created or modified from the master list. We have then the color. It's now everything is similar to the create item. Engine, build year, and car type. Oops, sorry, I forgot here to write underscore. No blanks, right? So let's update that and select save. Yeah, There it is. Select test manually. Let's test it out. So now I'm going to go to my master list and create a new item. Let's have an Audi. It's, I don't know, blue color. Engine is a 2.5 liter TDI. Build year is 2015. Car type is a sedan as well. Save. Flow is running, hopefully. And it ran successfully. It did not find an item with that ID, so it went on and created that item. So we have now in a second list, maybe it wants to be refreshed. And there it is, Audi, it's blue, it's that, and it's this. So now let's test it again, manually. Actually, it's an automated cloud flow, you don't have to test it manually, but I think it runs faster when it's expecting for a change. Yeah, when you use it daily, you don't have to do that, of course. So let's modify Audi. And Audi, it's not 2015 anymore, but it's 2016. Click away, it will save the changes. My Power Automate flow is now waiting for a change. And it got it. And now, as you can see, it's not creating the item anymore because it found it. And it's going to update that item. So the update is 2016. And we can see here that the year has been changed to 2016. Yeah, that's it. I hope you liked it, and I hope you can use it sometime. And I think it's a pretty neat and very easy to implement workflow, and can be very handy and helpful for very different and use cases and scenarios. So make sure you like the video if you did so. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you soon. Cheers.